Since before the 5th century, tourism has been an important part of a human's life, moving them from place to place to find better living conditions such as weather, water, foods, and job opportunities, in addition to needing to move due to battles and wars. By the 12th century, Egyptians, Romans, and Greeks traveled because of religion, power, and leisure. The Roman Empire created a road network of up to 200,000 kilometers. In the 12th century, educational and experimental trips began. Then, in the 13th century, Marco Polo was the first person to travel from continent to continent. His travels were from Europe to Asia. Furthermore, during the Renaissance, the Roman Empire declined and passports were issued. Several centuries later, during the Industrial Revolution, thanks in great part to educational growth, we started to see mass tourism giving way to the first travel agent, Thomas Cook. During the 20th century, a lot of things occurred, such as the first airplane flight, the first airline, Pan Am. The revolution of transportation began, as did the Second World War. All of these events brought technological development in the aviation field and created mass journeys. In the 21st century, concepts such as e-tourism and experiential tourism are recognized. Tourism became sensitive to risk, and there have been jobs created that specialize in the tourism sector. Nowadays, tourism is one of the most important branches of the economy of almost all countries. It is a very big, complex industry, and we need to study the most important concepts. First and foremost, attractions. Countries have cultural attractions and natural attractions. Cultural attractions are man-made, such as buildings, villages, events, arts, etc., while natural attractions are from the nature, such as beaches, deserts, and landscapes. The second component is transportation and infrastructure. Transportation consists in the maintenance of roads and airport terminals, for example. It is important for a country to have sufficient transportation so tourists can move from place to place in a comfortable way. Infrastructure is found below ground level, providing effective water supply systems, electric power, and telecommunications. The third component is accommodation and basic services, such as comfortable and clean accommodations are important for tourists. Also, basic services such as accessibility to food and beverages, shopping centers, and recreation in general. The fourth component is tourism development and promotion. Tourist information centers, which includes brochures, master plans, websites, are very important. In addition to this, it's also very important to have tourism organizations to provide a good relationship with tourists. Last but not least are the ancillary services. These are travel and medical insurances, police services, translation services, among others, so the trip can be safe to tourists.
Now we're going to talk about the tourism superstructure. Tourism superstructure is defined as the facilities that primarily serve the needs or interests of tourism of different parts of the world. Due to the need of good communication and cooperation between governments and communities, many organizations have been established to guarantee the interest of the industry of tourism. There are regional organizations of the public sector and of the private sector. The most important international organizations are the UNWTO, the WTTC, IATA, among other organizations. The most important regional organizations are the Pacific Asia Travel Association, the Canadian Tourism Commission, and the Federal Aviation Administration for Venezuela also has its organizations. Mintour, Benetour, and Inatour are the most important organizations. At last, we're gonna talk about tourism nowadays. As the world is changing every day, so it's tourism. Tourism is a big industry which gives a lot of money to some of the most beautiful countries of the world. So nowadays, there are two types of tourism. First of all, there is the personal tourism, where people travel only for personal purposes. And also, there is the business tourism, where people travel for work purposes. So nowadays, people not only travel for religion purposes or for power, they also travel for personal leisure, such as the authentic culinary tourism to people who like the cuisine and want to try it from. And in the last years, the sustainable tourism became very famous. It is the concept. Also, there is the extreme activity tourism